We're closing in on the 2020 NFL Draft, and it seems like a pretty good time to catch up with Pride of the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor and our co-host on Jaguars postgame radio. Mr. Taylor, how you holding up, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just trying to stay positive, trying to stay patient. Unlike everybody you see on social media, everybody's sort of, frantic and they're panicking in their own right. Everybody's talking about not staying at or frustrated by being at home. I think this is a time, you got to, just dig deep, discover something new about yourself and just adapt the best that you can. I think more importantly, just do your part. We talk about the country, then you talk about community, but yourself as an individual, you're the foundation to that all. I think me personally, I've just been trying to help where I can help. But I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm trying to keep an eye on things, It's bad enough as it is. I don't always jump into, sport. I sort of run away from everything, but now it gives me a little bit more of an opportunity to try to dig in a little bit and keep my eye open on things that's going on.
Well, Fred, let's talk a little football. It's been a little bit since we've been able to catch up with you, and there's been a lot that's happened for the Jaguars over this offseason. Some big names have moved on. Calais Campbell traded away to Baltimore. They got a fifth-round pick for him. A.J. Boye going to Denver. Nick Foles, for goodness sakes, is with the Chicago Bears now with their fourth-round pick. That's a lot of moving parts, but they had to do some of these things because they were up against and, in fact, over the salary cap at the start of the league year.
Right. I mean, it was necessary moves. As a fan, as a Jaguar lifer, as a fan, I think the one that surprised me the most was the Calais move. Just a big guy, a leader, someone who's going to be much needed in that locker room. So we have to, another question alongside who the draft picks are going to be is who's going to be the leader? Who are the young guys that are either already there or coming in? Who are they going to follow? Who are they going to look up to? But I really firmly believe that this is an opportunity for Leonard to solidify himself, as a leader. Go ahead and accept the role, man. You've been there as his fourth-year guy coming up. So I think this is the time to accept that role and, try to find something positive in it all. But a lot of moves made, necessary moves for salary cap. But it's going to be tough to replace some of those guys, namely Calais. Boye, he didn't quite necessarily have that same, smoke and fire behind him as he did when he first arrived. But cornerback position, I think that's a need too. But more importantly, that defensive, you're not going to win any games if you can't stop anybody or get any pressure on anyone. So replacing Calais, I think that probably should be, in my opinion, one of the more important or one of the big priorities in the draft.
Fred, we'll get to your thoughts on the draft a little deeper here coming up in a minute. But we mentioned there, obviously, Nick Foles gone. So that means Gardner Minshew and Josh Dobbs are in the quarterback room currently.
Right.
So it seems like it's Gardner Minshew's job, at least for now, depending on what happens in the draft. Maybe Dave Caldwell pulls a fast one and sneaks a quarterback in early. You never know, right? But it seems like Gardner's the guy, and it was a good rookie year for him.
Yeah, no, it was a really good rookie year, and he and Dobbs, they have to compete. I think it would be nice if they could somehow either find another veteran guy. It'd be tough at this point, but someone else to come in, sort of help bring Gardner along even more because he's still raw. He had a solid rookie campaign, but he's still raw. What we say, 14 games, he started 13, a 91 QBR quarterback rating, 21 touchdowns to 6 INTs, 3,200 yards passing. That's all good. But, the errant throws, the other opportunities he had where, he didn't necessarily have to flush the pocket, but he was seeing things. And then he started, trying to attempt the Minshew magic and get creative. And, that possibly could be in him naturally. But I think that he needs to calm down a bit, and become that guy who could actually, just step up and be a little bit more dependable. So, but you never know. You never know what they're going to bring in, who they're going to bring in. If Dave Caldwell is going to draft another guy, they have some power to move around. They got additional with those trades, 2 fourth-round picks and a 5th-round pick for Calais. So he has some wiggle room to move up. You couple that 9 at 4 and a 5, you can get up in the top 5 possibly with that. Maybe that 20th pick, couple all 3 of those trade picks, you can get up higher. Yeah. You know, so they got some room to work if they want to go up and try and get a quarterback, or maybe they even wait till that round and bring another quarterback in. Who knows?
Fred Taylor with us, proud of the Jaguars running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars and our co-host on Jaguars Postgame. Part of that argument, if Gardner's the guy, get him some more weapons to see if he's really the guy to help him out fully, right? They have DJ Chark, who went to the Pro Bowl last year. They got Fournette. They've added a tight end in Eifert. Oliver's going to come back off injury, so maybe finally they'll figure out the tight end position and have some success there long term. But they could use another guy on the outside, right? I mean, a wide receiver opposite Chark, that would be a really nice get early in this draft.
It would be really nice. It would be really, really nice. And I'm having a bit of a brain fart as I think of the receiver from Alabama. Jerry Jeudy. He's a great, skilled route runner. You know, I think he can get better in catching the ball. He had some drops, but he's such a great route runner. And you need that in the NFL because of the timing. You want the precision, and in the routes, the depths, the proper depths, knowing how to maneuver in zones, the man versus man coverage. He's shown some great ability. So I like Jerry Jeudy, and I also like Justin Jefferson. You know, he's a guy I think would be really nice 20th pick, you know, and he's a guy who terrorizes the slot. I think he was 6'1", 205 or somewhere in that ballpark, and he showed outstanding hands at LSU. Just his campaign last year was amazing. So those guys, you know, they have some ability. So I like to see him go and potentially grab one of those receivers early, either Jeudy at 9 or wait a sec or fall back and get Jefferson at 20. Or maybe even Derrick Brown at 9. I mean, I like Derrick Brown at 9 first. I said Calais was, you know, the priority was defensive line, in my opinion. Yeah. And he's a beast. He could play any position across the board, in my opinion. So I like him at 9. But they got a lot of room. You can find a good receiver in the 4th round as well. There's a ton of them out there.
Fred Taylor with us, proud of the Jaguars running back. And Fred, I think you could be a video or TV producer in your future because that's a perfect segue to the defensive talk for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've added some pieces there, obviously, in free agency. And it's because, really, the second part of the season, they were carved up in the running game. And especially right up the middle of the defense. And you can't get much done when you can't stop the running game, especially right up the middle. So they got a middle linebacker in Shadrick. They're moving Miles Jack to the weak side. But the big question now is what's that interior going to look like? And either if it's Brown or it's Kinlaw or somebody like that, you feel like that's still one of the final pieces missing on this defense.
Yeah, whatever it is or whomever it is, right now it's going to have to be a young guy that comes in and he's got to be a beast. You know, he's going to have a dog attitude and mentality. Because it starts with the down 4. You know, one of the big question marks, and I'm pretty sure concern for the team when it came down to if they wanted to, you know, extend Unique to a long-term deal, you know, you have to, as well as good of a pass rusher as he is, he has to be a little more stout in the run game. And also, even with the guys that they're bringing in, the moves, the changes at linebacker, I think Miles is going to do well on the outside. He'll be able to give himself an opportunity to move back to that position where he could just use his speed, his athleticism, cover those guys in the slot. He's a better zone defender as opposed to just dropping back in the middle. But more important, you have to have that down 4 to protect those guys in the run game.
Fred, you mentioned Unique Ngakoue. That's really the big national story around the team this offseason. You know, the Jaguars have the situation in control right now. They've franchised him, and either they can get the deal that they really want for him, or they can just have it. You know, he's
Right.
going to sit. That's kind of how it's going to go unless he signs it and goes for it. It's an unfortunate situation because you want a satisfied, happy football player. He's always
Correct.
going to be motivated. But what do you make of this whole situation with Ngakoue, the optics of it, and what do you think the end result might be?
Well, you know what, JP, for me, man, I understand the game has changed. You know, I look at what Christian McCaffrey signed for the other day, the 4 years, $64 million.
Yeah.
I think he's averaging out to about $16 million a year. That's my entire rookie contract. I know we're 21 years removed, so the dynamics of the revenues, the TV deals, all of that stuff has changed, and these guys are more than deserving of those numbers. With Unique, even the franchise amount, what is it, 19 million?
It's about 17 and change, yeah.
17 and change. I know 4 million is a big difference from where he wants to be. Plus, you have to throw in, you know, the security part of having a long-term deal. So that's a big deal. So I understand why he wants to be what he wants to be. I've heard some whispers about what they offered him, and they were, you know, not far apart in terms of the annual averages. But I think that I don't think he sits out because 17 million, you don't just give away $17 million. We all should have learned from Le'Veon Bell. I understand that, but you don't know if you're going to walk down the street and stub your toe and miss 6 games or miss the entire year, turf toe or something like that. I rather say just go out there, play hard, everything will handle itself. 17 million is a lot more than you've ever earned at any other juncture in your life. So I would say go and do it. If I can talk to Unique today, I would say, look, man, go ball. That's what you do. That's what you love to do. That stuff will handle itself. Show some good faith. Prayfully, the team will take care of you at some point, but it has to be a compromise.
Fred, another need for this Jaguars football team is a true frontline starting cornerback. Jalen Ramsey's in Los Angeles. A.J. Boye is a mile high in Denver right now. So, hey, guess what? Trey Herndon had a pretty good year last year. Yeah. DJ Hayden's going to stay inside at nickel, it sounds like. They got somebody in free agency, but it's a competing free agent. It feels like that they could go cornerback pretty high in this draft, too.
Yeah, it definitely does sound that way. It does sound that way. I mean, I like C.J. Henderson. You know, I'm a Gator.
Of course
I do. You know, but he's long, he's rangy, he's fast. You know, he's a guy who's familiar. You know, he's great in press coverage. The defense that they played down in Florida, some blitzing, a lot of man-to-man, shadowing the receiver. He didn't shadow a lot of receivers because he blanketed a lot of receivers. So I think that would be a solid pick, whether it be they could go defense. You know, because with those fourth rounders, you're going to find a receiver. You know, but if you have an opportunity to get a lockdown cornerback, you know, a guy like a Derrick Brown or so in the top 10, you know, go for it. Because offense, if you build your defense to be great, and we don't know what these guys are going to bring to the table, it's all about potential and possibility. But if you build a defense to be just lights out great, you're going to give your offense more opportunities to get the ball back, to try and work their magic and make something happen. And with those opportunities, you always have on your side potential for penalties, you know, with deep shots to the receivers and everything else that comes along with it. So I don't think defense is bad. I did like Jefferson at 20 or receiver at that pick, but receiver, cornerback for that second pick, I think they can go either way right now because the offense does have some guys returning at the receiver position. I think cornerback might be more of a necessity. But, I mean, who knows? Caldwell, he has, you know, to make those decisions. I believe Doug is going to get a bit more involved, you know, because it's their roster. You have to have some familiarity with your players and the guys that are coming in. If these guys fit my philosophy and my style of play, you know, and communication more than anything between the front office and the coaching staff, that's going to be so big for the team this year, more so than it had been in previous years.
Fred Taylor, a social media maven, joining us. Always good to see you and talk to you, man. I hope your family's well, and thanks for the insight today.